guys, it's good to see you all. I was thinking, since the Avengers broke up, and since times are so rough in the world these days, I thought maybe we should try to put a new group together. We could try to help students with their homework, and then we could fight evil in our spare time. I know, Thor, you could help with foreign languages because you speak Groot.
You speak Groot? Yes, the total on Asgard who was elected.
I am Groot.
But what do you guys think we should call this new group?
The Revenges.
Revenges?
Because I'm getting revenge. You're getting revenge. And you're two people. What do you want revenge?
I'm undecided.
I don't know about that name. I think that's a great idea. I agree with Groot. I think the group should be called the Math Vengers.
Cool. Cool. So cool.
I appreciate you guys bringing me into the group. So, for Thor especially, I heard about all your problems with your sister breaking your hammer, and she really did sound like the worst. So, I have a gift. I have a gift for you. What do you think of this weapon?
A king's weapon, meant to be the greatest in Asgard. In theory, it could even summon the Bifrost.
It have a name?
Math Breaker.
He needs the axe.
He needs the axe right now? Don't worry, I got you, Thor. Here you go, pal. He needs the hammer now? Here you go, Thor. Not the hammer, it's the axe. Chemistry, we're on the practice final part 2. This would be the first half of that video. This will do answers from 68 to 91. So hopefully that's what you're tuned in looking for. So the first, there's only going to be very little mathy board work on this. This will be almost all just sort of talking from here kind of stuff. So the first group, if you have two non-metals, you're going to want to use the prefixes, remembering that the non-metals are on the right of the periodic table. By prefixes, I mean like 1 was mono, 2 was di, 3 is tri, etc., and so forth. If we have a metal involved, we're not going to use any of those prefixes. We're just going to do a name, and it's going to end with ide, I-D-E. So P and O, check on the periodic table. They're both on the right, so just use the prefixes. It's going to be tetraphosphorus hex oxide, because 4 is tetra, 6 is hex. Li is on the left of the periodic table, so that's a metal. So we're just going to do a name here. It's going to be lithium. And then the SO3, we need to have memorized all those polyatomic charge ions things from the table we've had before. SO3 is sulfite, so that one is lithium sulfite. Sr is a metal because it's on the left of the periodic table, so this one is strontium, and then say oxide for oxygen. P and S are both on the right of the table, so break the prefixes back out. 2 is di, 5 is penta, so we're diphosphorus pentasulfide. For the last one, SN is tin, and you have to remember tin was one of 5 that had a dual identity. It had 2 options. So we need to figure out what kind of tin that would be based on charges. F is going to be fluoride. So we check the periodic table. Fluorine's in column 7. Everything wants to have 8 electrons. So that has a charge of 1 because it wants to gain that electron. The subscript says that there's 2 fluorines, so if they each had a charge of 1, that's a total charge of 2. So tin must have a total charge of 2. So tin, Roman numeral 2, fluoride. 73 to 8, we need to be thinking about the charges, and then we do a little swap to make subscripts on these items. So magnesium, you'd start off writing Mg. Look up its charge. It has a charge of 2 because it's in column 2 on the periodic table. Cyanide, you just have to memorize Cn, and it has a charge of 1. Most of the memory ones have a charge of 1. So if we have charges of 2 and 1, the subscripts are 1 and 2. We don't write the 1 And on CN, we need parentheses around the CN for the whole CN to get that subscript of 2. Skipping to the right, lithium has a charge of 1 because it's in column 1. Sulfite, you have to memorize, is SO3, just like it was on the second problem a minute ago. Sulfite is one of the ones that had a charge of 2. The 2 sulfurs, the 2 chromiums, the 2 carbons had charges of 2. So with 1 and 2, little switch, 2 and 1. The Li gets a subscript of 2. The SO3 does not go in parentheses because it does not have a subscript. You only do parentheses around things that have subscripts coming. Dinitrogen pentoxide, we have the prefixes appearing. So just use the prefixes to write the title here. It's N2 for the di, O5 for the pent. Tetra is another prefix one. So we're just going to go P4 for the tetra, O6 for the hex. Calcium is a Ca and has a charge of 2 because it's in column 2. Oxygen is an O, which also has a charge of 2 because it's in column 6, so that has a charge of 2 because it wants to get to 8. So with both charges of 2s, we're good. No subscripts, those matched. So just CaO. Mercury 2 is the plain old Hg and it has a charge of 2. Bromine's a Br, it has a charge of 1. Flip-flop those. So we don't write the 1, but Br we do write the 2. 79 acid rules are that you have to memorize the polyatomic ions. And if it used to be an ite in your memory, you make it an OUS word. If it was an 8 in your memory, you make it an IC word. But if it only had 2 elements, hydrogen and one other element from the periodic table, that's called binary, in which case we start with hydro and end with ic. So let me do the third one first, because that's binary and I'm on that topic. So the third one has just an H and a Br, so we're going to call that hydrobromic, because the binary ones always start with hydro, always end with ic. The first one, you need to know ClO3 is chlorate, and if you know that's chlorate, you make a simple switch at the end of the word to call it chloric. If you don't know that's called chlorate, you really need to study your polyatomic ions. ClO is hypochlorite, so I just make a minor switch at the end of that to hypochlorous. 82 to 4, we're doing that but in reverse, and we're thinking about that whole subscript swappy move again. So hydro on the first one is a cue that it's binary. Acids always start with H, so we'll start with H. Because of the sulfur part of it, we'll end with an S, but we have to think of charges. Hydrogen's a 1 because it's in column 1. Sulfur's a 2 because it's in column 6, and from 6 up to 8 is a span of 2. Little switcheroo, don't write the 1. There's an H2S then. Sulfuric, you need to play the name game at the end. The ICs become 8s. So instead of an ic, instead of a sulfur with an ic, you need to think about sulfate. You need to know in your memory that sulfate is SO4. So we end with SO4. Start with hydrogen. So we have an H, we have an SO4. H has a charge of 1 because it's in column 1. SO4 has a charge of 2 because our memory says so. Switch them. Don't write the 1, so H2SO4. We also at some point memorized H2SO4 with sulfuric acid. Nitrous, we trade for nitrite. OUSs go with ites. We just make that name, trade, change the suffix. So nitrous becomes nitrite. Nitrite from our memory is NO2, and we always start with H. The charge on NO2 is a 1. Charge on hydrogen is a 1. So we're good, just HNO2. 85 to 7 is the easiest part of this test. Acids are anything that start with H, so that's the middle one, is an acid. Bases are anything that ends in OH, so that's the third one. And salts is anything else, so that's the first one. 88 is a little bit of simple math using the periodic table. So we need to find BA's mass on the table, which is 137.3. We always round to the 10th place because the directions said so. Carbon we look up as a 12, but we take the 12 times 4 because carbon has a subscript of 2, but the parentheses with the other two last multiplies the inside parentheses subscripts by 2s. So there's 4 carbons, so 12 times 4. Hydrogen's a 1 from the periodic table, but times 6, because the subscripts have a 3 times 2 is 6. Oxygen is 16 times 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. Add that all up and you get the AMUs that the answer key would have. 89, same thing. Calcium, look it up, it's 40.1 when you round it. Chlorine is 35.5 when you round it, but times 2. Just add that up and you get the answer that I have there in the margin. 90, we start to do a little bit of dimensional analysis. So these are only 2 mathy board kind of problems. I start you with 8.56 grams. We need to cancel grams, so that goes to the bottom. And I want to create moles. The number for moles was always 1. The number for grams, we always have grabbed from the periodic table. Aluminum is a 27. This dividing this would create a 0.317, because on the calculator screen, copy the 3, copy the 1. The third position will round, and that creates the 7 where we cut to the third digit. And then you always write a unit on there. So moles we're going to write because we didn't cross it out, and also write a substance element abbreviation, so it's aluminum there. 91, I have 4.34 kilograms of sulfur. I need kilograms to go. Kilograms can only go in exchange for grams. There's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. Grams can go and create moles by using the periodic table. 1 is always the number for moles, and the gram number for sulfur is 32.1. Do the 4 times the 1,000, divide the 32, and it should, if you copy 1 and 3, third position, round to be a 5 there. It's 135 moles of S. So make sure you write the moles that we didn't cross out, and also the S, because that's the substance we had. Hope that's helpful. If not, email me, we'll work it out. Next video will work from 92 up.
Call. It's not that easy.
Hello, Ted? Hey, no, this isn't Cap's phone anymore. This is the Math Wizard. What's up? Yeah, Cap isn't here. But I have been thinking about that problem you were having with your time travel machine. I think if you would try a Mobius strip, I think that might be the key to the whole operation that could bail you out. Yeah, I think that would work. All right, yeah, hey, no problem. Glad to help you out anytime, bud. See ya.
Sorry, Mr. Stark, but I'm the real Iron Man.